What is happening, you guys? I hope you guys are all having a great day as always. Today I am bringing back my Scream series reviews, and today I'm reviewing Scream 3, starring David Arquette, Neve Campbell, and Courteney Cox. Wes Craven is also returning as directing this movie. Now, starting out with this review, this movie is kind of mediocre compared to the other two Scream movies. It is kind of a big downfall from what we've seen in the other two. Well, you guys remember my Scream 2 review when I mentioned in the opening scene there was a Stab movie going on in the movie theaters. Well, in this movie, a Stab 3 movie is in production. And Stab 3 is really taking all the real life events into circle, starting coming from the original movie and bringing it into this movie, which is the trilogy, but there was a fourth one. So a character in this movie even mentioned that in trilogies they try to incorporate stuff from the first movie into the third movie. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you who that person was or how they said it because it's kind of a spoiler, and you guys should definitely watch it if you haven't watched it already, and definitely check it out so you know what I'm talking about. The three main characters of Dewey, Gale, and Sydney, they all have three much different roles compared to the first two. Sydney is working for a suicide hotline, and she's trying to help people overcome their problems with if it's either committing suicide or they just have a problem in general. And I find that interesting because she's had problems about her family being accused of something or her mom's death, and she's really kind of had a rough life, and she's kind of using that into helping other people. And Cindy, she's kind of in a disguised name so that no one can find her, and she is so much more independent compared to the first two. And we got Gail Weathers, and she is still writing and discussing about the murders that happen in the events in the Scream world. And we have Dewey, and he's working on the Stab 3 production, which I kind of think was a little ridiculous. I felt like his character is just working there so he can get extra cash because he's not a cop anymore. We learn much more about Sidney Prescott's mom's past, Maureen, and it's interesting because we haven't really learned much information from her besides that she just got murdered. So, and I'm just going to say this to start out with. Scream 3, it's, like I said, kind of a big downfall, but in its way, it's still kind of entertaining. Well, let's talk about some high points first. Neve Campbell, her performance really saves the movie. She was in it maybe for about half, and I think that was a bad decision by the writers. And a matter of fact, Kevin Williamson, he didn't come back as a writer for me, which I think hurt the movie a lot. But also, whenever Neve Campbell is on screen, she's breathtaking, and if she wasn't in this, it would have tanked pretty hard. Now let's talk about the relationships between the three main stars, and let's start off with, in Scream 1, we didn't really have much of a connection besides Sydney knew Dewey from her friend Tatum, but in Scream 2, Sydney had a pretty close relationship with Dewey, and Gale had a kind of a pretty close relationship with Dewey. But in Scream 3, they're kind of all connected together, and they all kind of love each other in a sense. A character I did like that's a new one is Patrick Dempsey. You guys might know him. He played in Grey's Anatomy. He was a little creepy in a way, and you at times thought that he could have been the killer, and at other times you were like, he's definitely not the killer. He's kind of making you guess the whole time. And one more thing I did like was the score. Every time someone's in a dark corner or alone in a house, the background music is just, oh my god, it's so creepy, man. It was just giving me some chills. Alright, now, that was the high notes from the party that I liked, and sadly, let's get into some low parts. It was a cool idea of what the writers and the directors had going for it, how it was taking place in Hollywood, but it kind of totally just backfired. Starting out with, in the Stab 3 production in Hollywood, there's a person that plays Gale, Dewey, and Sydney, and they're literally all knockoffs, and they're all wannabes, literally, and they're not really good. They're not developed that well. It's kind of poor acting, and like I said, they have no backstory, so what's the point of even caring about them? They're kind of just there for the body count. Also, with the Stab 3 production, Dewey, man, I don't know why you work for the Stab 3 production. It kind of just didn't work that well. You should have just stayed retired as a cop. That gets into the plot. The plot, it seems like it was just inserted. It didn't really make too much sense to me at all. I mean, there was some people that probably watched the movie thinking the plot was interesting. I mean, yeah, it was interesting because it gave us more information that we didn't know from the past other movies. But that was about it. The plot didn't really, I don't know, it didn't really go well for me at all. It was almost like the writers of this movie were like, hey, let's draw up a plot and let's hope it will make sense. And one more thing, with Ghostface, it's just so silly. Like, it's, in the first two movies, you see he's like gotten people out. I mean, he's doing that in this movie, but the way he just kills people in this movie, it's just really, really bad. Like, in one of the times, I'm not going to say who the character was, but Ghostface has a knife, and he chucks it across the room, and the end of the knife hits the guy in the head. Like, come on. It's almost like this movie is a parody, like Scary Movie 1 or something. And I thought the ending, like literally the ending, like the final seconds of the movie, it didn't make sense. And at the time, I can see that this was probably the final installment. But there was Scream 4, which I think helped save the franchise. But there was a lot of unanswered questions at the end. And if you're making a solid trilogy, like the first two movies were, try to resolve the ending with something a little better than it was. And guys, I know I'm kind of hating on this a lot, but I mean, I rewatched this my third or fourth time. My first time, I didn't really think too much of it. I was just like, hey, this is another Scream movie. It's pretty good. But when I really looked into this deeply, and I realized there was a lot of stuff wrong with it. And with all that being said, my grade I'm going to give this is a C-. Now guys, don't get me wrong. I did enjoy this movie a lot. I would watch this like 2 times a year, like just the other ones. But there was just some stuff that was wrong with it that when I rewatched and analyzed it, it just didn't hit me that well. And guys, I'm going to try to do another movie review before my Scream 4 review. And I'm going to do this for a lot of my future reviewing franchise movies. But I'm going to incorporate a different movie that's not related to the franchise in between it. So I'm not bombarding you with just the franchise. And I'm going to also record a reaction of me watching the Jumanji trailer. And I was a big fan of Jumanji with Robin Williams. So I'm really looking forward to this trailer. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know what it's about at all. But I'm really looking forward to it. And guys, thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate it. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so that way you can see me next time. Thanks for watching.